What exciting adventures will we choose? We'll make new friends and make some plans. We'll post videos as we visit new lands. We'd love you to join us as we sail around in floating hotels of every brand. We're retired and it's time to cruise. Come and join us or watch our YouTubes.
Hello again, everyone, from
Darren and Susan with Retired
Time to Cruise. Today we're giving you a full presentation of navigation at sea on the
Sapphire Princess.
This was presented by a couple of the bridge officers, and it is the full presentation that they've given. I apologize for any movement of the video because it was taken in the theater of the ship.
And the seas are a little bit rough here as we're coming up to French Polynesia.
Now, you also might hear some coughing in the background. That also comes along with having a live audience in the theater.
That's right. So this video is for those of you who want to come on the Sapphire Princess, that will give you a complete rundown of all of the facts and details you need about the Sapphire Princess.
I've brought in some professionals who do have some idea about what is going on the Sapphire Princess, and to give you some more information. I see a few of you got your notepads, you're going to take notes, maybe your own captains yourself. Look at that here. But you need to welcome them to the theatre because they've come from the bridge here. They've taken time out of their busy day to come and let you all know about what it's like to be on the bridge team there and now help with navigation at sea. So please give them a warm welcome for Josh and Ted.
Hello everyone, can everybody hear me? Yeah?
Hello, yeah.
Good afternoon, how are you all doing?
Awesome.
You enjoying the cruise?
Yeah.
Yeah? It sounds like you kind of like it. No? Can we try that again? Are you enjoying the cruise? Yeah. Oh, that's much better. Wonderful, it's a good crowd today. Hello guys, my name is Josh. I'm a third officer up on the bridge. I have been with Princess Cruises now for a little over 2 years. I started as a deck cadet, like my young friend here, Ted. And I'm now third officer, slowly working my way up the ranks. I'm going to hand over to Ted and he can introduce himself now.
Cool, hi guys.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm Ted, Deck Cadet, so this is my first contract. So in total, I've only been at sea for just over 2 months. So yeah, still learning everything, but yeah, I'm basically here. My rank is to train up to eventually be like Josh and be a third officer.
Yeah, so Ted is very, very fresh here. He's only just started working on the bridge with us in the last, week now? Something like that, so he's getting there. So what we're going to do here, guys, is we're going to explain a little bit about what we do on the bridge, what life is like for us, the work we do, and a little bit about the ship itself. At the end of this, guys, if you have any questions, myself and Ted will be down here on the side. You can come up and ask us some questions, and we'll go through that. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Wonderful. Okay, let's get started. So, this is a good start, isn't it?
Good start.
Hello. Let's try this.
The bridges are pretty better than You're running out of slides.
Yeah.
It works for him, but not for me. Thank you. Alrighty. Yeah. He's got the magic touch. Alrighty guys, well, obviously you've been on board for a couple of weeks now. Welcome to the Sapphire Princess. Now, she was built and went into commission back in May 2004, which means next month she's going to be 21 years old. She is 3 years older than our young deck cadet, Ted. Yeah. Do you know what the really funny part is? The ship will be allowed to drink before Ted will.
Sometimes.
Yeah, now it was built in Japan. Has anybody sailed on our sister ship, the Diamond? Yeah? Oh, plenty of you. Did you know that the Diamond is not actually the Diamond? This is the Diamond. So when they were originally built, this was the Diamond, but unfortunately there was a fire on board in the dock. The ship was badly damaged. So to try and keep everything going, they swapped the names of the ships. So when the ship goes into dry dock, on the bottom of the ship you can actually see Diamond welded into the hull. So they renamed it, but there was a lot of concern from the shipbuilders at the time. They felt really guilty that a fire had broken out. So they ended up spending a lot more money and time on this ship, and it ended up costing $500 million, which in today's money is $845 million, so almost $1 billion. But because they spent more time and work on this ship, this is the better ship. And not just woo! No, in terms of stability, in terms of everything, it's just that little bit better. They put a little bit more time and work into it. So, capacity. This is quite a large ship. As you can see, we can take up to 3,168 passengers. Currently, we have 2,474 and one dog. Is the dog here at the moment? No? Oh, that's a shame.
It was on the
crew. We can take up to 1,075, almost a full complement at the moment. So we're doing pretty well, fairly full at the moment. So, the dimensions of the ship, we always get asked this. So, you have the full length of the ship, 289 meters or 948 freedom feet, as we say in Ireland. The beam of the ship is going to be slightly different compared to that of the bridge. It's 37.5 wide or 123 feet, but when you go up to the bridge, have you all seen the wings on the bridge that stick out the side? When you go from one side to the other, it's 50.1 meters, and I can tell you, when something happens and you have to get from one side of the bridge to the other, it is a long 50 meters running across. Okay. She stands 57 feet above the water and a draft of about 8.2 meters. Now that changes depending on where we fill our water tanks and everything and our fuel. She's heavy enough. And for me, people always ask, how much fuel does she carry? 4,238 tons of heavy fuel oil. That's a massive amount of fuel. Very rare that we are always at full capacity. Really, it's more just an issue trying to get the fuel in a lot of places, but we never have an issue with it, but we're never at full capacity. Freshwater capacity, we're at full capacity pretty much all the time. People ask, do we take water on? No, 99% of the time we produce our own fresh water on board. Now the bridge team, what is it made up of? We have 4 members of the bridge team right at the top, and they're the day workers. So they're the captain, the staff captain, safety officer, and bridge manager. And then we have the watch keepers who are split up into 3 different watch cycles. 12 to 4, 4 to 8, and 8 to 12. Midday to midnight, midnight to midday. Myself and Ted, we're on the 8 to 12 watch. So we get up at 7 and we start our watches then. We have 1 first officer, 2 seconds, 3 thirds, an unknown number of deck cadets because we can never find them. And we have 6 AV helmsmen, which means at all times on the bridge, there will be at least 4 people. 1 senior officer, 1 junior officer, and 2 lookouts. We have different situations, so if we're coming into arrival or leaving a berth, we will go into what's called red manning, where we will have, a captain, a staff captain, usually the safety officer, a senior officer, a junior officer, and 2 lookouts. So it gets really, really busy up there. And then we could have a pilot on board as well. This is the Sapphire Bridge team. Aren't they lovely? Aren't they very handsome? There I am. Right in the center there, you can see our staff captain, and just beside him, you can see the captain. And between the 2 of them is the most important person on board. It is Dante, the staff captain's son. Isn't he gorgeous? Okay. So, what do we got next? Climbing the career ladder. It is a long, long ladder. Normally for officers, outside of cruise ships, you would have 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and then captain. But on cruise ships, because we're much bigger, we have a lot more to do, there's a lot more roles to fill. You end up with a safety officer, a staff captain, and then a captain. So, as Ted was saying earlier, he is way down here at the bottom, and I am just above him. So I still have plenty of ways to go. For us, it takes about 12 months as cadet to get to 3rd officer. That's the general timeline. From 3rd officer, another 12 months to get to 2nd officer. Then you have to do another 18 months from chief mate up, and then you can do your captain's license or master's license. Education of a deck officer. I'm going to hand you over to Ted for a minute because he is, really at that early stage of the whole studies.
Yeah, so again, I've been on board for 2 months. So beforehand, I've done around 6 months of college work. So at university, studying, learning all the stuff, and then we'll come on board for, this one is 4 months, then learn stuff on board. We have a certain book and we have lots of different tasks and we have to fill that in, we have to complete them. And then once we've finished this contract, I'll go back to college, do more learning at college, more exams, come back to sea again, and then back again to college, and then finally qualify. But for my training in total, I have to do 12 months at sea in total. So this contract will be 4 months of that 12 months, and then I'll continue through.
Yeah, so it's kind of every country has slight variations on how we do it. They all have to follow, you know, kind of basic international guideline. I know in Australia, do we have any Aussies here today? No? Really?
Really?
Do we have any Irish here today? Anybody from Ireland? They're all drinking on deck. I should be up there myself. I'm only kidding. Yeah, for myself, in Ireland and the UK, we're very similar. We both take 12 months. In Australia, it is 18 months as a deck cadet, so it is that little bit longer. When we do our training and studies, we have a lot of academic exams that we have to complete, and for the majority of the final exams, we have very high pass grades. 40%, 50% wouldn't get you a pass grade at all. It might get you your degree, but it won't get you your officer's license. In Ireland, we have to achieve between 80 and 90% in our exams, and that includes exams on celestial navigation, so it includes a little bit of astrophysics. It can be quite intense. To be honest, during my final studies coming up to the final exams, there was 9 of us in the class, and there was 1 girl, 8 guys, and the girl was slagging all the guys, saying, "I'm not crying, why are you all crying?" It was good fun. But we end up doing a lot of practical courses as well, and this is for the STCWs. These include first aid, firefighting training, sea survival, and then a little bit of navigation stuff as well. And then from this, we then ask the question, why do you want to become a ship's officer? For me, actually no, I'll start with Ted. Why did you want to become a ship's officer, Ted?
Well, for me, I grew up in Southampton in England, so big major port, especially for cruise ships. So I know a lot of friends that have gone into this, and just growing up there, I was like, yeah, you know, this is what I want to do. And yeah, sorry, from those pictures, why would you not want to be? I just enjoy it, I love ships, and beautiful views. So.
Yeah, for me, it's fairly similar. My first experience at sea was on the tall ships. Has anybody seen the tall ships? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah? You've all sort of seen, if you don't know what they're like the big pirate ships with the sails and, you know, everybody's, you know, going, argh. My first experience was in 2012. I sailed from Spain back to Dublin in Ireland, and the forecast was to be really nice weather, and it was completely wrong. Like, not even like remotely close. There was a huge storm, gale force 11, so almost a hurricane, and it was about an hour ahead of us. So they said, okay, we'll stop the race, we'll wait 12 hours and let it go on. And it did, it shot off, went way ahead of us, and we were like, great, started the race. 16 hours in, it stopped moving, and we didn't. So we kept going, and we went straight into it. During that race, 3 of the Class C ships, so they're, you know, kind of 20 to 50 meters in length, 3 of them capsized. My ship, we lost every single sail, and we had 1 person fall and quite badly injure themselves. And the whole way through it, I remember standing at the wheel in, you know, serious rain, pitch black, thunder and lightning, you know, waves nearly the height of the mast, thinking, this is absolutely brilliant. While throwing up on the deck. And I was like, this is what I want. And now I'm on a cruise ship, and you don't see any of that. I don't know what. But these are some photos I took from my last contract. This is Alaska. Anyone been to Alaska yet? It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's my favorite place to go. I absolutely love Alaska. For me, working at sea it's an escape. It's an escape from the rest of the world. I absolutely love it. It's really beautiful. It's a new challenge. Every day is something new, and that's what I really like. You know, you get to see a lot of the world, and you know, Yeah, so every country has its own rules and regulations on, you know, what we do with money. In Ireland, we've pretty good regulations on that. But once we complete our training to become officers, we end up going to this place called CSMAR, the Centre for Simulator Maritime Training. This is located just outside Amsterdam City, in a place called Almere. It is built and operated by the Carnival Corporation, specifically to train up their officers in using cruise ships better. It is an absolutely phenomenal facility. So you can see here, we have a replica bridge. There's a photo of it, and here's a layout of it. On the top, you have a replica bridge with an almost 360 view the whole way around it. Directly beneath it, they have a replica engine room as well. So when we go to do our final assessments for any training we're doing, the engineers are brought in to do the training with us. So we're actually interacting with them. And it's honestly really good fun. I love it. Ted here is yet to experience it, but I know he's going to really enjoy it. And for the first time you go, they send you there for 2 weeks. You get the first weekend off. You get to spend some time in Amsterdam, which is really nice. So, the bridge. What is it? Where is it? Well, it's on deck 14. It's right up above us, guys. The bridge is the brain of the ship, essentially. Anything that happens, anything important, any safety concerns or navigation, it all comes back to us eventually. So whatever you do, we will find out. Okay. It is a very busy place during the day. At night, it is dead. It is quiet, but it's always, you have to be very focused the whole time you're up there. So this is the command center. This is where we do all of our navigation from. We have the navigator's chair here on the right. Then we have the co-navigator chair. That is generally where I will sit. Then we have the administrator, which is generally Ted's job. So he will be taking phone calls, recording stuff in the logbooks, anything that happens. Then we have where the helmsman will go. You'll see the ship's wheel shortly, we'll get onto that. And then we have the operations director. That is sort of the equivalent of a film director. They sit at the back, they watch everything that's happening. If they see any one person struggling, they can step in, assign them a new job, or give them a different person to do it. Here is the watch the 8 to 12. This is us. Just there on the right, we have Julia. She is the second officer. I'm sure you've probably seen Julia around the ship. We have our two lookouts, Hamza and Iman. In the middle, our lovely young cadet. And just behind them is the bridge manager, Giuseppe. And then obviously my big hairy self there on the right. Now, going to run through the layout of the bridge itself. This is the looking down. So starting, we have the SMCS echo sounders and stabilizers. SMCS, Safety Management Control System. So you've seen smoke detectors and everything around the ship. We have complete control over all fire safety equipment from that one computer. And we have 3 backups on the ship. There are 3 of them on the bridge and 1 of them in another location. And we can control everything from that. Then we have the echo sounder. That just tells us how deep the water is beneath us. And then stabilizers, which are out right now to make sure that we are not rolling and pitching and having a very uncomfortable time. Then we have our GNSS and computer, Global Navigation Satellite System. Tells us our position, what time we're going to be in different spots, and then just general computers there. And again, we have in the center the command stations where we control the speed, the direction, absolutely everything for navigation you could possibly need, you will find in that spot there. Then we have our GMDSS, Global Maritime Distress Safety System. There are a huge number of radios and equipment in this. And when you're going into port, they are constantly going off. And you have to try and keep very close eye on what ones you're listening to. At all times, we have channel 16 and channel 13 running. Anybody know what channel 16 is used for? Exactly, Coast Guard, emergencies, hailing, anything like that. Channel 13 is intership, so if we want to talk to another ship for any reason, that's the one we would call them on, generally. Do they answer? No. Flags. People are always surprised when they see flags. Flags are really important. We learn them in school. We use them all the time, depending on what country we're in. We'll fly that flag for their country. We have different flags for different meanings. My personal favorite flag is the W for whiskey, because it means I require medical assistance. And it's the one I remember the easiest because my lecturer always told me, whiskey, I need medical assistance because I have had far too much whiskey to drink. And it worked. You know. On the bridge wing, when we arrive and depart in a port, you will see usually the captain and another officer, maybe two, on the bridge wing, and we use this system here. This is essentially the exact same equipment you'll find in the center of the bridge, but more compact. Okay, so we can control and see what we're doing down the whole length of the ship. And then once we're out, we'll transfer back across into the center of the ship. The safety center, this is where in the event of an emergency, and every time we do a drill, every 2 weeks, we do a full drill, this is the center, this is the brain, this is where everything is controlled from. So there's phones going off, there's about 20 people running around like headless chickens. It is fantastic, it's quite exciting to be in there. And then we have the chart room, which is where we do most of our paperwork, any additional stuff that we have to do. And then, just to be clear, I didn't make some of this presentation. It took me a good 5 minutes to figure out why you put a picture of a door. It's to indicate that we have closed and open conditioning. You can see the green light. So if the light is green, it means people are allowed to knock on the bridge if they have, need a request or something. If it's red, it's do not come up here. We are in like restricted conditions. Please, we're very, very focused. And then this is another view from the bridge wing consoles. The first photo was from the port side, this is from the starboard side. So this is what we see when we're in dock all the time. Global Maritime Distress Systems. We have VHF for short range, MF, HF for medium, aeronautical air bands in the event that we need assistance from helicopters or airplanes, and then Inmarsat-C, which is pretty much the whole planet. If you want to know more about that, I'll happily talk to you about it, and I can advise you on what is good to read up on for that. Then we have our safety center, as I was telling you, fire detection systems, emergency shutdowns, the stability computer, and then passenger and crew mustering. So when we do have an emergency, you can see these 4 pictures here, and they're slightly blurred on purpose. We can't show all the information clearly, but it gives you an idea. We can see where everybody is, if they're in the correct place or not, or if we need to reassign them to another area in the event of emergency. So when we do our training, we will check in all the different teams, and once we are at 100%, we know everybody is safe and secure. Stability. This one is asked a lot. How do we keep the ship upright? How do we keep the ship stop it from rolling over and capsizing? The answer is a vast amount of calculations. So much so that if we were to try and do them on this ship by hand, we'd need 2 officers doing them pretty much all day in shifts. There's a huge number of them. As such, we have a stability computer on board. This is an image of it. So, consumption per day, food and beverage, we eat on board about 12 tons of food and drink on board every day. We consume about 2.2 tons of fuel on each of our 4 diesel generators, and then we have a GT, a gas turbine, which also consumes an additional 5 tons per hour. So we use up a lot of fuel to get around, but for the size of them and for the size of the ship, they're considered quite fuel efficient. For the stability aspect of it then, we have grey and black water. This is the stuff that you flush away that you never want to see again. Then you have your fresh water, ballast water for, port to starboard listing, heavy fuel oil, and then the marine gas oil. Oops. Now, this, I wanted to point out, this is the RV flip ship. Has anybody seen this before? Yeah? This was built back in the 1960s and it was decommissioned back in 2023. It is a marvel of ship stability because on the top left, you can see the length of it and how it normally sails. Then they fill up a series of tanks and it goes completely 90 degrees upwards and it then turns into a platform. It's because of stability like this and the technology that we have that we can keep ships upright today. This is an absolute marvel. If you've any time, look it up, the RV flip ship. It's absolutely fantastic. What does a bridge look like at night? Can you see anything? This is one everybody asks. Here you go. This is what we see at night. It's pretty amazing. It's quite funny when we have people come up to the bridge at night because Because I'll be sitting there, I'll be doing, whatever my job is at that moment, and people come up and they go, wow, look at this, it's amazing, it's like Star Trek. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, it's great. Oh my God, I'm so tired. But it is pretty spectacular. I remember as a cadet coming up and seeing it for the first time and thinking, wow, this is really, really cool. And then after 2 years of it, you're like, okay, can I see something else, please? But no, it's pretty spectacular. And then I sent this photo to my mother, and she didn't say it's amazing. What she said was, what's that on the left-hand side of the screen? And we realized it's the friendly bridge ghost keeping lookout. Because there was one of the lookouts standing there on the left. You can't quite see it on this. Oh, that's unfortunate. There's quite an eerie shape in the corner of the photo. My mother was quite concerned. She's a little bit superstitious. But, sure, look. Integrated bridge system. Everything we do on the bridge is connected. Every system is connected. We can control absolutely everything. We have alarms for basically anything. And we have backups for everything that we want. When you're on the bridge, constant beeping, constant alarms, and you very quickly figure out what alarm is okay, and then suddenly you hear one and you go, oh, that's not a good alarm, that's a bad one. And people who aren't used to it, they think every alarm is bad, and they're always really stressed and panicked, but you get used to it. Steering modes. We have 3 main forms of steering. We have the traditional autopilot, very old school, but it works perfectly. You cannot beat autopilot, it is excellent. Now, that's not my company view, that's my own personal view. Track pilot is what we use most of the time. This is the NACOS track pilot system. If you ask an officer, oh, if you're here, who's driving the bridge? They might respond with NACOS track pilot 2 MFD1. And this is what they're talking about. We use this system, it keeps us on track. We can either set it for a heading, so the ship is pointing that direction, a course, so we can be pointing in one direction but moving in a slightly different direction because of the wind or tide, and it will maintain that. Or the track, we can input a specific route on the chart and it will follow that track precisely, really, really, really closely. And then finally, the most important one, hand steering. As good as a computer is, hand steering will never ever be beaten. We use it on every arrival and every departure, any situation where we have narrow channels or there's a vessel crossing, it's always hand steering because it's far more responsive. The telegraphs, people always ask, what are the levers for? Forward and aft. That is it for going ahead, up to full ahead and full astern. They're very straightforward. I know in another company there was an incident where they did a bridge tour and one passenger came up and they just pushed the levers forward and the engineers had a heart attack. So it was terrifying. Thankfully everything was okay, but it does happen. So hand steering, expectation versus reality. This is what everybody expects to see when you get up to a ship. And again, this was my first experience at sea. This is the sort of thing I was using on a tall ship. And I got here and I was sorely disappointed. But as they say, it's not the size that counts, it's what you can do with it. Okay? And with this, you can steer the ship in any direction you want whatsoever. My favorite aspect of this is that it raises and lowers, and I always forget that it can do that. And I'll be sitting in the chair on the right, and then I'll hear this like quiet whirring noise, and it just appears up behind me. I always get a bit of afraid. But yeah, people are always like, oh, that's the wheel? You're like, yeah, well, what did you expect? Passage planning. Bridge manager, you saw Giuseppe earlier. Bridge manager is the guy who creates the routes from one place to the other. There is a massive amount of work. And bridge managers are massively underrated in my opinion. They have a huge responsibility. They're the ones who decide the exact route and all of the information between it. What they have to consider is where will we take on a pilot, which traffic service we're going to be speaking to, so will it be, or if there even is one, like San Francisco traffic. The nautical publications, which, oh man, they are endless. They just keep going and going, and there's always updates on them. TSS, traffic separation schemes. So like on a normal road, you can go up one way and down the other. There are parts of the ocean where you have to do that. You cannot go the other way, and they're marked on the charts. You've got any potential traffic is the area known for having a lot of fishing vessels or tankers or any other kind of general public transport. How much fuel we need. Whale areas. Has anybody seen any whales yet on this cruise? No? Oh, that's a shame. Plenty of whale areas, especially around California. There's a huge protected whale area around there. There is a voluntary speed limit up there of 12 knots. We follow it. A lot of other places don't, but we will not go faster than 12 knots up there. Environmental limits, what we can and can't do in terms of, letting smoke out, and can we pump, fresh water overboard, or can we keep it inboard? Speed limits, and then revenue regulations. Anybody a fan of the casino? Yeah, a few casino goers? Revenue regulations, that's a big one. So we have a lot of that to keep an eye on. And this is all done by one person, and it's a huge responsibility, and it's a huge amount of work. So if you see the first officer walking around, say, good job, Giuseppe, because he definitely deserves it. Paper charts versus ECDIS. What is ECDIS? ECDIS is an electronic chart display information system. It basically takes the old school paper charts, which we have right here. This is the one that we were using down at the southern tip of South America. So we still use them in certain areas because the electronic charts might not be fully updated. The country that's responsible for it may not have put enough funding in. The electronic charts look like the one there on the far side. That's what we would be seeing most of the time. And what we have here, unfortunately it's a little bit blurry, this is the chart for each cruise. We do one for every single cruise, and it's auctioned off at the end of the cruise. All of the proceeds for this, it's made by one of the third officers, all the proceeds go to charity. So if you are interested in seeing exactly the route we go through on an official chart, you can see it up in Horizon Court, or you can auction, or you can bid on it at the auction yourself. This is back onto Ted.
My turn. I was not aware of your presenting skills, so I have a lot to live up for here.
Yeah.
International Dateline. I would assume you'd be aware because we had to miss a day. And don't get me started on that, it's so confusing. So, International Dateline runs down 180 degrees longitude, but not really, let's be honest. There's many reasons for this. Many of them are because it avoids, different countries have said, you know what, can we move it? So you can move it, you're allowed to do that. You can move it around groups of islands, stop splitting down countries, and other countries like Samoa have said, we want to be on the west side of it for better travel and trade connections. So, time zone map. Now that's just confusing, I don't know about you. But when you have logbooks and lots of different computer systems, yeah, it's very confusing. The entire question. So yeah, as I mentioned, good example of this is American Samoa and Samoa, which we've recently visited. American Samoa wanted to be on the east side of the international dateline because of their connections with the US. So they wanted to stay on the same day as them, just to make life easy. Whereas Samoa wanted to be on the west side because they have better connections with Australia and China and stuff like that, so they wanted to be on that side to align themselves with the other islands and have better connections. Geographically, Samoa and American Samoa are actually only 100 miles apart, but time-wise, they're an entire day. So again, very, very confusing, especially like today, it's the 2nd, 27th of April, which is just so confusing, and I still haven't got my head around it. Power plant. Now again, bear with me because I'm not an engineer. I do not enjoy sitting in a dark, hot, sweaty, oily room. We have 4 diesel generators, so unlike cargo ships, which you may have seen online, we don't have one big engine that's 4 decks tall. We have 4 diesel generators. 2 of them are 9-cylinder, 2 of them are 8-cylinder. I don't know why, I'm not an engineer. But they are 4-stroke turbocharged diesels. So they all 4 of them will provide electricity, they'll generate electricity, which will then be passed to a propulsion motor, but we'll get onto that. We also have a gas turbine, which, as we mentioned earlier, drinks fuel, but it's very, very powerful. Maximum power for that, 25,000 kilowatts, and it can run at a speed of 3,600 RPM. Maximum power we can get out of it all is the gas turbine plus all 4 diesel generators, and that is 140 RPM on both shafts for 22 knots. Propulsion. So we have two propulsion motors, both are 20 megawatts and both weigh 165 tons each. So the generators and the gas turbine will generate electricity, which will then be passed to the motors, which will power the propeller. Both inward turning, both weigh 21 tons each and are 5.6 meters in diameter. Crash stop at the bottom there. Crash stop is from top speed, so 22 knots, all the way to dead stop stationary. So we can do that in 1,800 meters in 4 minutes 52 seconds, which is very impressive. Thrusters, key for arrival and departure. You may feel ship vibrating a lot. That's because of the power these things generate. So bow thrusters, much more powerful because you haven't got the propellers at the aft. Or you have got propellers at the aft, sorry, you haven't got them forward. 2,200 kilowatt bow thrusters, 3 each forward, 3 each aft. Stern once again, a little bit less powerful. 25 knots beam wind, so if we have 25 knots of wind on the beam, we can hold position using all of the thrusters, and that's the maximum amount of wind we can hold position. Stabilizers, they're all your best friends because you don't get flying off overboard. These hold the ship steady, as you may know. They span 7.25 meters and are 7.4 meters long and 3 meters wide. They adjust the water going over it, which keeps the vessel steady, but it's more complicated. LSA, life-saving appliances. Again, in the event of an incident, your best friend. 22 lifeboats, 6 of which are these tenders, which we haven't used tenders yet, I'm aware, but we will do later. All registered for 150 persons each. Fast rescue craft, they're the smaller orange, more jet-powered. They're only for crew use, but their main purpose is to tow the MES, Marine Evacuation System. So that's the image on the left. So we have 2 systems, one on the port side, one on the starboard side. 4 rafts each, as you can see from the photo. All 4 rafts hold 430 people. The outboard ones 409 and the inboard ones 406. 2 of them each side, that's 860 crew it can hold. A very good system to hold a lot of people. Overcapacity life rafts. Legally have to have these as per SOLAS. We have 10, again 5 on port, 5 on starboard, each have a capacity of 109 people. So total capacity that we have is 5,250 people, but we're only certified for 4,250, so we have way more than we need.
Thank you, Dad. So, back to me, for you all to suffer. Okay, so traffic collision avoidance. This is a big one. When we sit our exams, when we want to get our license, there are a series of international rules known as call regs. In the UK and Ireland, for us to get our license, we need to know those laws verbatim, word for word. In my oral examination, it went on for an hour and a half of a very seasoned captain who was in his late 60s just grilling me on absolutely everything and saying, well, what's the difference between shall and may and blah, 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 blah. But it is really, really important because at sea it can get very, very confusing as to which way we move. For example, voyage alone can get very messy. Does anybody understand that picture up there? If you do, fair play to you. Yeah? Oh, very good. It can be very, very complicated for our young cadet here, Ted. He is only starting to go through it now. I know for myself, when I was going through it, it can get a little bit overwhelming. The terminology is kind of legal jargon, but it is hugely important. And as I said, international regulations for prevention of collisions at sea. We have required nav lights, which we have to be using all the time. We need to understand what each light means, so that in the dark you can see lights far away, you know exactly what you're looking at, what ship it is. Does everybody, comply with these rules? Absolutely not, and it can make things very, very difficult. We even have a specific set of rules, Rule 19, that says, in the event of restricted visibility, or fog, ignore most of the other rules and follow these ones instead, and it changes the dynamic of how we do all of this at once. How do we know where we're going? Does anybody know what this is called? called?
Barnacle.
This here.
Captain.
Binnacle! Spot on! Does anybody, do you know what these two spheres on the sides are called? Anybody? Kelvin's balls. Poor Kelvin. What are they used for? So inside of a binnacle, we have a magnetic compass. Okay? Now, the magnetic compass is brilliant, except there's two little problems. One, the Earth generates its own magnetic field. This we can measure quite easily, and the information of that is found on a chart. So we can then apply how much variation that's going to impact on the compass itself. Then is the second problem. We're on a massive ship made of steel. Okay, that itself is going to have another huge impact on the magnetic compass itself. We, every 2 years, minimum, Princess will do it usually every year, if not more, when they can, we'll do what's called swinging the compass. When we swing a compass, we will go 0, 0, 0 degrees, 90, 180, 270, and back to 0, 0, 0. And at each degree, we will measure what variation is being impacted. We can take the variation of the area, and then we can take the difference that there is, which will be caused by the magnetic field coming from the ship. Traditionally, Kelvin's balls can be used, you move them, side to side, and it can counteract the magnetic field and make the magnetic compass a bit more reliable. On the far side there, you can see our gyro compass. This is the gyro repeater itself. These work in that they point at a specific kind of spot in space, and no matter what way you turn it, it will continue pointing in that direction. We have 2 gyro compasses on board, always at least one redundancy, and we have 2 magnetic compasses on board. But we have to compare both of them. Every time we change watch, we talk about the gyro, we talk about the magnetic, and we'll tell each other what the difference between the two of them is. And this here, this little thing, this is just so we can see the inside of the binnacle, which is located directly above the bridge on the Monkey Island. So you may have wondered what the canopy covered thing is. That's the binnacle that we use. There's a good example of a binnacle just outside of the wheelhouse bars. You can see that when you're on your way out. How do we know where we are? Global Navigational Satellite System. There are thousands of satellites orbiting the Earth. It's arguably becoming a problem for future travel off the planet. They're still trying to figure out how to deal with it. Every day satellites fall from the sky, but we use them every single day. Most of the time we'll be using about 17 different satellites at any given time to determine our position. In certain parts of the world it's not so easy. The further north you go and the further south you go, there will be less of them, and this is purely because there are less people. Companies aren't as interested in having as much signal up there. So we use them all the time. Then we take visual bearings, radar bearings and ranges. This is if we're doing coastal travel, we can see exactly where we are. And when we are traveling along the coast, we will take regular position fixes, usually kind of every hour. And then the closer you get to the coast, the shorter the time between them. Back to our young cadet.
Sextant, this may be something you've seen before. It's very much an outdated, well, it's not outdated, but with nowadays, you've got a lot more technology, but we still got to use them. And as someone in training, you use this stuff quite often. So basically, it's a sextant. It's an instrument we use in the industry, and it gives you the true bearing from the horizon all the way up to a celestial body, whether that be the sun, the moon, other planets like Venus, Jupiter, etc. So we can do this twice. If we do this twice, then we can get a relatively accurate, but as seen at the bottom, because we move so quick, it's not quite there. Say we're going 20 knots an hour, in 5 minutes we'll go 1.5 nautical miles. So by the time you've done the first calculation, you go to the second, we would have travelled 1.5 nautical miles roughly. So then, you know what I mean, you're 1.5 miles out, so it's all a bit thrown off. So nowadays it's a little bit outdated, and when you've got GPS, it's a bit, it's a bit different, and it's not a waste of time, but it's a bit outdated with many things. To use it, the index arm, the big one at the down the middle, don't know if you can read it. You can swing that forward and back, changes the angle of the index mirror at the top, looking through the eyepiece, you can, as seen in the bottom photo, line the celestial body. In this one it's the sun. You can line it up with the horizon, read it off accurately, and it will give you your bearing. Lots and lots of more maths and equations that are very boring, but you've got to do it. You do that, and then it gives you your position. But again, nowadays a little bit rough, but if all else fails, then you can.
So, how do we know what's around us? Simply put, we have radars. We have 5 of them on board. We have X-band and we have S-band. We constantly have them running, unless we're in port, and they are very, very accurate. They're, an excellent system to use on board. We use them in conjunction with our ECDIS systems. As you can see here, the green area is what's marked off by the pings from the radar. Whatever signal comes back will be marked as green. Everything else that you can see there is from the charts. We can overlay the two, and it makes it much easier to determine where we are. In the event that one of them fails, we still have a relatively good idea of where we last were, and we can continue working off previous position fixes. Just there in the center, you can see these are the radars that we have. We have 3 up on the top, and then there's 2 smaller ones on the sides. There's one on the aft as well for anything behind us. That's the stern radar. How do we know what's beneath us? Very simple. We have an echo sounder. Commercial echo sounders usually range up to kind of 500 to 1,000, depending on how much you're willing to spend. Princess and other companies, we try and get the best, so we can get a good range of them. This was just a simple one that we chucked in. I didn't put it in, but it's in there anyway. This is what it looks like. People always ask, how do you know? We have 2. We have one on the bow, we have one on the stern. Mooring operations. People always ask us, what do we do during mooring operations? What does it look like? So this is a kind of basic outline of what it will look like. For us, we generally do what's called 6 and 2 forward and aft. We'll have 6 breast lines and 2 spring lines. The spring line's job is to stop the ship moving forward and backwards, while the breast line is to keep the ship from moving laterally in and out in that sense. And then this is what it looks like down on the mooring deck. So when we're down there, mooring decks are notoriously dangerous. In previous years, we used to say that there were areas called snapback zones, which was a determined area where, in the event that a rope snapped, that was the danger area. But we soon realized it's highly unpredictable. You can make calculations all day long, you're still not going to get it right. As such, mooring stations are now considered, the whole area is a snapback zone, and it is very, very important that all the guys who go down onto those stations get really good regular training, because it is one of the most dangerous areas on the ship. And then people always ask, how do we get the lines out? Heaving line. Anybody know what the knot at the bottom is called?
Monkey fist.
Monkey's fist, exactly. In days gone by, they would put a rock in the middle of the monkey's fist, and we stopped doing that because people would throw them overboard, and then whoever was trying to catch them may not be paying attention, and they'd get hit in the head. So we stopped doing that, stopped putting as heavy items in it. And now it's just the rope itself, but you can still get them quite at a distance when you give it a good chunk. Big pointy thing at the front. What is it? It's the bulbous bow. Ted, you want to talk about the bulbous bow?
Yeah, bulbous bow. So it's not too new, but it basically changes the way the water goes around the hull, which is, it improves the efficiency of the vessel, it improves the stability, it improves literally everything. The range, so if you increase the fuel efficiency, you can increase the range, makes all the fuel cheaper. New ships or bigger ships, they can get at least 12 to 15% better efficiency. So it's a brilliant invention, and yeah, most modern ships at least will have these. They've started to introduce new bows which do a similar thing, but you can't beat it.
Thank you, Dad. And that's it, guys. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I didn't bore you. Thank you for coming. If you do have any questions, guys, myself and Ted will just stand over here. Do feel free to come up to us. If I can't answer the question, I am sorry, but I'll do my best. Okay, enjoy the rest of your cruise, guys. See you later.
Thank you.
Retired, it's time to cruise. Where will we go next? What will we see? What exciting adventures will we choose?